Welcome back. I hope you found the previous movie about the introduction helpful. In this one, I focused on the body and conclusion. But as you already know, these sections will impact your introduction. So once you finish with this work, you want to look over the opening paragraphs one more time. The body of the essay breaks into two parts. As you think about how you will organize this essay, keep in mind that you have two rhetorical goals for this section. First, you want to provide your readers with examples of change that will convince them of the reasonableness of your thesis. And second, you want to provide readers with a rich discussion of the challenges that change has brought. Strong examples that support your thesis can convince your readers. This is the first task you must accomplish. Before you begin to discuss the challenges or issues that arise from the change you've observed, you need to establish the idea that change is happening. This is done by providing your reader with clear, easy-to-understand examples. Examples can come from your own experiences or that of others, but most often they include source material from other writers, as Carr did in his essay, Is Google Making Us Stupid? How many examples you have in your essay is your choice, but I would recommend a minimum of 2 examples, each in a separate paragraph. If you can do 3 examples in 3 paragraphs, that can be stronger because it will go further toward convincing your readers that you have a worthwhile point to make. One other thing to consider about examples is that it is best to have both global and local ones, if you can. This means you should try to have an example that takes place away from your region and what you are familiar with, as well as an example that is local to you and your day-to-day life. After you provide examples, then you can turn to critiquing the change that the digital age has brought to your topic. I call this the issues section of the essay. This section can be challenging for you because it requires you to clearly state your ideas and to support those ideas with your own reasoning and the reasoning of others. This means you need sources to help you discuss the issues. Sources should speak directly to your point, using paraphrases or minimal quotes. Don't use long quotes in this essay. If possible, connect your issues section to the examples you discussed earlier in the essay. Readers find it satisfying when a writer can take an example in an earlier section and turn it around later in the essay for a critique. If that is not possible for you, don't panic. Just make sure you briefly describe the negative example before questioning it. You want to always make sure that your reader understands your example before you begin to discuss the problems with it. Previously, I spoke about the content that needs to go in the body paragraphs. But content is not enough to have a successful essay. The structure of the paragraphs is also critical to your success. Topic sentences that signal to the reader where the paragraph is heading are the first step in building a strong structure for your paragraphs. Sentences that follow topic sentence, the ones in the middle of the paragraph, they should expand on the topic and provide evidence related to the paragraph topic. You also want to look carefully at the final sentence or sentences of your paragraph. What purpose is it serving? Does it sum up the paragraph, prepare the reader for the next paragraph, or simply end? You don't want that to happen. Make your final sentence purposeful. In this example from a student portfolio, we can see a very strong structure for this paragraph. Notice how effective the topic sentence is and how each subsequent sentence connects so clearly to the topic sentence. In many ways, the topic sentence is the thesis or controlling idea of the paragraph. Notice the inclusion of signposts throughout the paragraphs, as well as the to sources in the paragraph. Your readers rarely see this sort of sophistication in composition portfolios. Use the strategies this student writer employs to create strong paragraphs for your essay. Cohesion, the idea that one thing connects with another, is an important concept in writing. Readers are trying to make sense out of your essay, and the more paragraphs connect to one another, the easier it is for them to do that. The most important way that paragraphs connect is through the thesis statement or controlling idea. A strong controlling idea makes its presence felt in each paragraph. Review your paragraphs and identify where the controlling idea shows up in each paragraph. If it isn't in each one, then revise the paragraph to make sure it gets in there. As you come to the end of your essay, you want to make sure your conclusion is as solid as the rest of your essay. One challenge that you face in writing the conclusion is that you need to handle two separate rhetorical issues. First, you need to remind your readers of your thesis. Second, you need to connect your thesis to the issues you identified in the body of the paper. When you first introduced your thesis, your focus was on telling readers how change is taking place. Now you're discussing your thesis in light of the issues you raised in your essay. Your perspective and your reader's perspective on the topic has changed because they've gone through your essay. Make sure your conclusion reflects that fact and connects more to the issues than it does to the change. As you begin to review your draft and revise it, keep these concepts in mind. Which ones are you already doing in your essay? Which ones do you need to add to your essay? Prior to your next group meeting, take time to revise your body and conclusion using these strategies. If you find yourself growing too frustrated or confused over the task, please contact me, one of your peers, or get yourself to the Writing Center right away. Good luck.